everyone, and welcome to another apartment renovation. So today I'm renovating the apartment of a couple of Sims for my Seasons Let's Play, and they are Brenden and his son Connor, and it's just the two of them, which is why I've called this a single father apartment. And I'm just doing this renovation because how their apartment looked before just really did not suit them at all, and it just bugs me when I have my Sims visit other Sims and I feel like where they live just doesn't suit them at all, because even though these are side Sims in the Let's Play, I just still want them to have a home that really feels like it's personalized to them. And also, I have a feeling we're going to be visiting this apartment a lot more in the future of this Let's Play, because Brenden is a very close friend of one of the Sims in the series, and based on what happened in the previous part, it looks like there is a possibility of them becoming more than friends. We'll see what happens in the future. But either way, I just see them spending more time together, and I see us visiting this apartment more in the future, and I just really wanted to make it look a lot better, because this is 2B Jasmine Suites, and before it was very sparse, and I just wasn't a huge fan of how the apartment looked, especially for these Sims, because Brenden does have the slab trays, so I didn't see him having this apartment that was neat and tidy with hardly anything laying about, so I did make this apartment very cluttered. I didn't make it a complete pigsty, like with trash laying around and things just really gross and unclean, but there's definitely a lot of clutter throughout it, things that aren't in their place, things that aren't put away, things that look like they are being kind of neglected, you know, like the dishes aren't being done, that kind of thing. Like that was kind of the look I was going for, you know, like just the look that he's not a super neat Sim who's on top of taking care of everything, but at the same time it's not horribly bad. So for example, around the sink here, I put that box decoration that came with Outdoor Retreat, and I imagine that maybe it was like an empty box of cereal and some like empty cans that he just kind of like hasn't got around to throwing away yet, or maybe it's just stuff that he left out on the counter from when he was cooking or something like that. And then we got some pots and pans near the sink. So I imagine that those were pans that he hasn't gone around to cleaning yet, because I don't see him as like a complete, I guess a slob trait kind of implies that you're a complete pigsty, but I don't really see him being like a complete pigsty, just someone who can tolerate a higher level of things not being perfect and orderly, if that makes any sense. And he is also taking care of a son by himself, so I imagine that would make it just even more difficult to just try to stay on top of cleaning and everything like that. Another thing I did later on was I put in the Show Hidden Objects sheet, which was bb.show hidden objects, and I found this little, like one of the little toddler sippy cups around, and then I also stuck that near the sink, kind of like, you know, his son dirtied a sippy cup, and then he hasn't got around to washing it, so he just kind of like stuck it on the counter near the sink and is gonna get to it eventually. But we are mostly done with the kitchen now. I just like how the kitchen looked. Like, I think the view looking from the living room over into the kitchen is my favorite part of this apartment, because I just like how detailed and lived in the kitchen looks. But the living room does carry on that same being kind of untidy feel that the kitchen had, because there's just a whole bunch of his son's toys around here. I also stuck some other things on the coffee table, like some books. I also found an empty coffee mug, so I thought that would be another good thing to just stick there, like he was drinking coffee while watching some TV and then had to rush off to work or something along those lines, and just like put it down and hasn't picked it up yet. And with this apartment, I was trying to go for a somewhat shabby look, but I didn't want to make it look too shabby and decrepit, but at the same time, I didn't want to make it look super nice. So I was trying to strike a balance between the two, but going more towards the shabby side of the spectrum, because he is a single father raising a son on his own. He also works as an activist, so I imagine he's not really bringing in a ton of money, but I also imagine that he didn't want to live in a place that he felt was bad for his son. Like, he really wanted to trying to find a place that he felt was nice enough to raise his son in. So I tried to go for the look of this apartment being older and more dated, and that being why it's cheaper, not that it's roach or mouse infest or anything really gross like that, because this isn't a TLC trait lot, fortunately, because that trait is annoying. Like the apartment that the Sims in the Let's Play live in has a trait and is just a huge pain in the butt. So this apartment isn't quite as bad as their apartment. And originally I had these wallpapers that came with City Living that have the worn looking wood and just the gross, nasty, scuffed up looking paint. And later on, I went ahead and switched that out because, as I said, I didn't want this apartment to look gross, and that was making it look a little bit too gross for my liking. So yeah, once I changed it to that wallpaper, it does look so much nicer. And also, in the next part of my Seasons Let's Play, it will be Harvest Fest. And I was thinking that it would be nice for them to come over here and have Harvest Fest here instead of in their apartment, because this apartment is bigger and nicer than theirs, and I was just thinking that if we do it at their apartment, that even if it's just the three of them, it might be a little bit difficult for them all to sit down and have a nice meal without something going wrong, because knowing the apartment they live in, the power's gonna go out, or a mouse is gonna run around, or roaches are gonna pop up, or something like that, and I don't really want them to have a bad Harvest Fest. So I just think it'd be really nice to come to this apartment, have it here, and also so that way we can get to use this newly renovated apartment. And I guess we'll just pretend that this is how the apartment always looked, like when they visited it before, because we have been here a couple of times in previous parts. But anyway, now we're on to one of the bathrooms, because I did actually give this apartment 2 bathrooms. I wasn't planning on doing that originally, but when I walled off the bedrooms down at the other end, there was this 2x3 space off of the bigger bedroom. So I just decided, why not turn that into a little bedroom, make this apartment feel a little bit nicer that way. So this is Connor's bathroom and the guest bathroom, and I really like how this wallpaper looks with this flooring that came with Jungle Adventures, because I really wanted to mix the two, but at first I was having a little bit of trouble finding a combination that matched, but these two actually go together really nicely. And I did have a little bit of trouble furnishing this bathroom because of the wall height, because this apartment does have the tallest wall height, which did make it kind of difficult to furnish at points, because I just really do not like furnishing builds that have the tallest wall height, because it's so hard to fill up the whole walls. Like, usually what I end up doing is I just put furniture on the part of the wall that you could see if you, like the part of the wall that is about the height of a regular wall, like just kind of what you could see if you put the camera down towards the floor, like in kind of a sim perspective kind of a way. Like, I don't really even bother with furnishing anything up higher than that, because I just don't really see the point in it anyway, because it would just, I feel like in a way it would look like a little bit too much if you had stuff up that high anyway. Like, I don't see the point in like having shelves up all the way at the top of these walls, because it's not like anyone would realistically be able to reach it anyway. Like, I would never want to put decorations in a spot that required having an 8-foot tall ladder, so I just don't bother doing this game. Plus, it just makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, the taller wall height does make it really difficult to get into smaller spaces like this. And I could have just put the walls to cutaway, but I cannot furnish. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I cannot furnish with the walls and cutaway, just because it's kind of hard to see how the wall decorations and everything look and get a real feel for the room. So that's why I always furnish with the walls all the way up. But I do prefer to play the game of cutaway. I never could play the game with the walls all the way down though. Like, I don't know if any of you prefer to play the games with the walls all the way down, but I can't stand how that looks either. Like, I don't think I've ever really purposely put the walls all the way down and left it like that, because it just always looks so strange to me. But anyway, we're on to furnishing Brendan's room, and once again, I'm just sticking some clutter here. So we've just got some books sitting on the end table, because I imagine that he's into reading as well. And then I also have an empty cup, like it was a water glass that he took with him to bed and just kind of left there. And that's just another thing that's just sitting around that he hasn't gone to, because like I said, like I just didn't want the look of like he was leaving like plates of actual food. Like, I don't see him as a guy who will bring plates of food to his room and then just leave like the plates with the food still on it sitting in his room. But, like, he's the kind of person who will like drink a whole glass of water and then just leave the cup sitting there, or like drink a whole cup of coffee and just leave the cup sitting somewhere for a few hours or a day or something before he gets to it. I'm not sure if that's something that'll actually still be in the apartment if you download it, because I know I think a lot of the show hidden objects or the debug items will stay with builds, but I'm not sure if cups are one of those items. And I think even if it does, your Sims are just going to go right to trying to clean up anyway, so it's not like it's really going to stick around that long. But just for making this build, I thought that was a fun little touch. But with his room, I tried to incorporate some of his other traits that he has, because his other traits are loves the outdoors and good, which are definitely harder to incorporate, especially into an apartment, because it's an apartment, you don't really have an outdoor space to focus on. But I did get a frog out and put it on this bookshelf, because he does also have the collector aspiration. So I just figured it would make sense to give him some kind of collection item somewhere in his apartment. So he's got a little pet frog in here as well. And then I did put him in the activist career, in the political career, in the activist branch. Well, he's not there yet, but in the future, if we get to that point, he will be in the activist branch. So I did that because he does have the good traits. So I stuck some of these posters from the political career around him. So he's got his little sign that he uses to protest with, and then over near his bed I put the Save the Trees poster, because I did pick, I think it was like the United, whatever the one having to do with being united is. And but I also imagine that the Save the Trees is another cause that's close to his heart. So I just wanted to include both of those in his room. And then we also have an overflowing hamper. At least that's the look I was going for, because, you know, he's also a little behind on his laundry as well. I didn't actually stick a washer or dryer in this apartment because I didn't really have a good spot to put it in, and then this isn't a very big apartment, so I didn't really have a whole lot of space to put hampers in as well. So I just went for the fake hamper. Now we're on to his son Connor's room, and this is of course the last room in this apartment, and it has a very cheery yellow color scheme to it. And I also almost forgot that that swatch of those curtains existed, because I decided to just go ahead and use those as I haven't used them in a while. And then I remembered that that swatch actually existed, which is just a really cute swatch for kids' rooms, and it goes perfectly with this room. And the trend that's been going on throughout this apartment of things being cluttered does continue into this room, although it isn't as bad as in the rest of the apartment, but there's just toys strewn about here. Like, there's some toys sitting on the end table. There's also just some toys sitting out on the floor, and toys on shelves, and a bunch of toys sitting around on the floor, but it does look really cute. Like, I do like how this room turned out. I had fun furnishing it. And I'm just really glad that this apartment now suits these Sims so much better, because, yeah, I just stuck them in this apartment as it originally was before, and just swapped out a few things. Like, I think the second bedroom was originally for a child, so I just swapped it out for like a toddler bed and just threw in a few toddler items here and there, and that was about all I really did for this apartment. So yeah, I think it'll be a lot more fun to visit this apartment now. And here I'm just getting some decorations on the shelf. Like, we have this baby shoe decoration and some stuffed animals and a plane figure, and I think that's about it for the shelves here. And then other than that, all I have to do to finish off the room is just put some wall decorations throughout it and add a few more toys in. So I don't really have too much more to say about this apartment, so I'm just gonna go ahead and leave off here. So if you do want to download this, there will be a link to do so in the description, other stuff in there, how to find it in-game, and that's gonna be all for me, so I hope you enjoyed the rest of the video.